Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our group presentation today. To start, let me introduce the member of our group discussion. That is Aretha Naurah Aurelia Putri as the speaker. She is a student at Universitas Negeri Malang, majoring in English Language and Literature. And my name is Dinda Hati as the moderator. I want to remind you of the housekeeping information for the Q&A. If you have any questions, please write down in the comment section on the YouTube chat box for Q&A. And we will then talk and answering the question in the week 5 presentation. So please do so and on the chat box. The presentation will be held in less than 10 minutes. So today we are going to talk the presentation. The title is Impact of Psychosocial Environment on Emotional and Behavioral Difficulties. We are going to talk about the definition of psychosocial factors and the characteristic of the impact of emotional and behavioral difficulties. So no need to wait any longer. Please welcome Aretha Naurah from Universitas Negeri Malang. Aretha, time is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to have the opportunity to present the result of my research on the impact of psychosocial environment on emotional and behavioral difficulties. The areas of my concern are the definition of psychosocial factors and the characteristic of the impact of emotional and behavioral difficulties. I would explain them in about 5 to 10 minutes. Now let me begin explaining what is psychosocial. So, what is psychosocial environment? Psychosocial environment is our perception of how the environment treats us. There are things that satisfy or disappoint us, and these things affect our behavior in the environment. The environment in question can be in the form of the situation of the people around us, the level of our familiarity with the environment, and the climate that affects our relationships with one another. The dominant cultural patterns, ideologies, and values, as well as community perception, will influence this social behavior. But sometimes this dominant culture can also compromise when it wants to achieve the same goal. For example, a child that raised in a Batak family will be accustomed to speaking in a strong accent. This child way of behaving will be different from a child who raised in a Japanese family who will always teach a child to speak words gently. But when they go to school in the same place and are required to study together, children from Batak families will learn to lower the volume of their voices, and children from Japanese will tolerate and not be offended when their Batak friends speak loudly. And sometimes environmental experience from psychosocial conditions will also affect a person's behavior in the future. For example, a child who is punished for violating the dominant norms in an area, he or she will always remember not to make that mistake again. A person's behavior also depends on the situation and condition they are in. A person's behavior when he or she is at the wedding will be different from when they are at the funeral. Humans' reaction will be different in each situation at hand, depending on their personal characteristic. For example, there is a fire in a building. A person A tends to panic and cry, but person B immediately took action to run and save the people around him and the things he felt needed to be saved. This behavior is also the result of an interesting interaction between individual uniqueness and situational generality. So, what is the influence of psychosocial? Psychosocial factors affect both psychological as well as physical functioning over time, which can lead to either adaptive or maladaptive illness behavior. Psychosocial factors influence whether older adults seek and accept mental health interventions. These factors play a wonderful role in adherence to interventions and ultimately depression outcomes. The characteristics and behaviors of the impact of the psychosocial environment associated with emotional disturbance and or behavioral problems that may include aggressive or antisocial behavior, distractibility and impulsiveness, impaired social interactions, a general inability to cope with the routine of daily tasks, obsessive and repetitive behaviors, depressed behaviors such as withdrawal, anxiety, and mood swings. These behaviors can impede learning, restrict access to normal activities and social opportunities, and require a considerable amount of both manpower and financial resources to manage effectively. Thank you.
So, the conclusion from our presentation is the psychosocial environment is our perception of how the environment treats us, the level of our familiarity with the environment and the climate that affects our relationship with one another. The dominant cultural patterns, ideologies, and values as well as community perception will influence the social behavior. This behavior is also the result of an interesting interaction between individual uniqueness and situational generality. Psychosocial factors affect both psychological as well as physical functioning over the time, which can lead to either adaptive or maladaptive illness behaviors. That's all from our presentation. Thank you for watching our presentation. See you next week.